without necessarily overburdening the people of Kenya, either through additional taxation, like we are not doing today, or either through excessive borrowing, like was done over the last decade. And unashamedly, Honorable Speaker, I have watched none other than the former president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, attempt to lecture the people of Kenya or the leaders of Kenya. And you know, I looked at Uhuru and I wondered, where was this man living before? Where were you, Uhuru Kenyatta, when Kenyans were buying a packet of Unga for 260 shillings? Where were you? Now that you have become oversensitive to the needs and the suffering of the Kenyan people, where were you when Kenyans were queuing to buy an available fuel at pump stations across the country? Where were you? You know, Honorable Speaker, I don't want to say what Honorable Mariani is saying behind me. Because I respect all former presidents, but I have greater respect for former presidents who are patriotic, who love this country, who are not driven by hatred. You know, when Unga was selling at 260 shillings for a packet, Uhuru Kenyatta was the president. When we were subsidizing fuel, Honorable Speaker, using billions of shillings, borrowed money, because that is what we are paying for today. We borrowed money to subsidize fuel. We borrowed money to subsidize a packet of Unga that was not available, fuel that was not available. But a few people walked away very rich. One commercial bank in this country, Honorable Speaker, had the monopoly of foreign exchange. And those in the central bank know what was happening that time. That is how we depleted our foreign reserves to the lowest ever in the history of our country. The lowest ever. Even the colonial government had greater reserves than the Uhuru Kenyatta government. Today, we have tripled those foreign reserves. Speaker, if you can add me 2 minutes. That is the resilience of the Kenyan people, the resilience of our economy, and the visionary leadership that we have seen, that those today who are dying of envy and jealous cannot live with. And I dare say from this floor, forget about organizing that disorganized opposition. I hear them saying, oh, we are organizing some disorganized opposition. Now, if you could not organize something when you are in power, how will you organize anything from the bush? You know, Honorable Speaker, this resilience I'm talking about, God being with us, when the National Infrastructure Fund gets the resources that we target to get into that fund, we will be able, as I said, to be able to lift off some of the development projects that are commercially viable, that would have been carried in these budget estimates, and implement those projects and be able to grow our economy, to be able to generate more jobs. And that is why I spoke about strategic interventions that are spoken to by these budget estimates, targeting investments in ensuring that we are food secure, ensuring that we protect our vulnerable members of society, ensuring, Honorable Speaker, that even those who are in school are well taken care of. And let me go to conclude with that, Honorable Speaker, that if you look at the investments in the education sector, the free-day secondary school has an allocation of almost 55 billion, 54.6 billion, 30 billion to free-day secondary school. Junior secondary school, a capitation of 7 billion for free primary education. And in addition, another 56.7 billion has been allocated to HELB, or the Higher Education Loans Board. Honorable Speaker, in that light, Honorable Speaker, there is an amendment that I've seen from the Education Committee, which I would want to speak to the chair of the Budget Committee. Something I saw reading to Kenya, KCID, for county stakeholder engagements, something, now that I'm short of time, I may not have it here, but I'll be engaging with the chair of the Education Committee and the Budget and Appropriations Committee. We cannot be spending 200 million shillings to engage stakeholders at a time when we should be deploying resources to educate our children. Engagements, county stakeholder engagements are not things you go and engage people and spend 200 million shillings on. You can engage without spending 200 million shillings. I want to propose that we take that money either to help or school capitation, or if anything, to NGCDF, if you have nowhere else to take it, to be able to take care of bursaries, Honorable Speaker. But we cannot be KCID, these, you know, some of these institutions, Honorable Speaker, people are used to just gobbling money, gobbling.
What's your point of information? Honorable Melly.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with all due respect to the majority leader, the Kenya KICD, you know, is an institution that is in charge of curriculum. We have senior schools